Welcome to the new Cyber Frontier, bringing you the latest news on the local Colorado economy and initiatives that focus on the development of cybersecurity economics. You don't have to be a computer or cybersecurity expert to get plugged in. Your host, Chris Gorog, brings it straightforward, asks the tough questions, and brings the cyber world to a level of understanding for everyone. Chris is personable and opens up with our guests on issues we all would like to see addressed. You can find us on the web at www.newcyberfrontier.com. Now join our host as he introduces the topic for today's new Cyber Frontier.
Hello, this is Abe Thompson here at SecureSet Studios in Colorado Springs on the new Cyber Frontier. Today we have a couple guests. Mr. Russell, want to start off and introduce our other guest here?
Okay, I'm Thomas Russell, and this is Alexia Thompson. She is my intern.
Outstanding. And Mr. Russell is at the more recently established National Cybersecurity Center here in Colorado Springs. Certainly one of the things we consider to be a gem, so we're delighted to have you here, both representing your history as an educator and then the work that you're doing there even now. And it's kind of neat that you have sort of the next generation joining you as an intern.
Absolutely.
So tell us, how did you kind of arrive in your journey as an educator, technology educator, and now serving as you do in sort of the education space at the National Cybersecurity Center?
Okay, well, I started out in the military. I was in the Army. I was in the Signal Corps, so I was in the a group that they call the Communications, Electronics, Engineering Installation Agency. What that all meant is that we went around and installed communications equipment in various locations throughout the United States and Europe. After I retired from the military, I worked for Time Warner Telecom up in Littleton for about 9 years. And there I was a network analyst.
Sure.
And then I did a little bit of contingency planning and stuff like that. But my dream was always to be a teacher. And the reason why I wanted to be a teacher is I wanted to help my community out.
Sure.
I've seen there was a need to help my community out, and I wanted to volunteer. So I used to volunteer as a coach. I was one of the parents who bought a van just so I can, go back and forth with the kids.
Sure.
And coaching basketball and that sort of thing. So I was always into that realm. So after my kids were grown, I made a big leap. I decided to become a teacher. I always wanted to become a teacher. I just couldn't afford it because if you're going to raise a family, a teacher's salary is not something that you can readily raise a family on. But absolutely. After my kids were grown and with my wife's permission, I went back to college and got my master's degree in applied technology for education, and I became a teacher.
Excellent.
I started working at Falcon High School. Falcon High School didn't have a CyberPatriot program. If you don't know what CyberPatriot is the largest cyber competition for middle and high schoolers. So I started that program there, and we became one of the best cybersecurity schools in the country.
Excellent.
At one point I had 2 teams out of 1,000 teams that was rated in the top 18 in the nation.
Excellent.
So I was in that for a long time, and I taught for 10 years, and then I retired from teaching. And I was always a member of the NCC, even long before I knew I was going to work for them, and
Sure.
I was called upon to come in and meet them after my retirement, and we talked about things and ideas, and the next thing you know, instead of fishing, I was actually still working, so I ended up working, and I started the Student Alliance. I didn't start the Student Alliance, it was called Pseudo Cyber, but I came in and made some changes, and it's working out pretty well so far.
Excellent, and it's a Herculean focus of the NCC, that education piece, because truly as you know, I'm also in the education space and cybersecurity, and it's really not about just trying to move bodies, but it's trying to address a tremendous gap in our workforce.
Right.
And what is exciting to me is to see the effort that you're placing on looking even down into the K-12 space.
Right.
Because there are our next cyber operatives, our next cyber warriors, and you started at the beginning as a cyber warrior.
Right. You know, one thing that I found out very quickly is this. I wanted to get certain kids into cybersecurity, introduce them like kids of color.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult to recruit, even the top students, it was difficult to recruit them. So I figured that they have to be introduced to it early.
Sure.
High school, to be honest, is too late.
Yeah.
So that's when I started doing summer camps. And the thought is if I introduce it to them early, they would stick with it, and hopefully when they get to college, they would major in some kind of STEM program. And I think it's been helping because I've been able to get more females and more people of color by engaging with them earlier.
Sure.
So that was one of the main focuses. So when I came to the National Cybersecurity Center, the first thing I focused on was the camps. I said, okay, we're going to have a bunch of camps coming up this summer, and I want to go to the different districts and get, probably more people of color and females than they already had in the other schools.
Sure.
So I think we've been pretty successful with that by introducing them young, and hopefully when they get back to their schools, they have other programs that they can piggyback on, and continue that momentum.
Excellent. It's really a matter of getting that opportunity out there so people are aware. Let's take a quick break and go hear from our sponsors.
Cyber Resilience Institute helps build strong cyber communities designed to prevent members from attack. Like building a neighborhood watch, it takes coordination and a sharing community to protect our identities and valuables in the virtual world. Typically, we hear that organizations know they need to do something to protect their cyber assets, but don't know where to begin. Let Cyber Resilience Institute help your community create an action plan. Cyber Resilience Institute will build your community or business marketplace so that it is designed to support a collective cyber defense. Contact them for more information at cyberresilienceinstitute.org.
And this is Abe Thompson again from the SecureStat studios here in Colorado Springs on the new Cyber Frontier. Our guest is Mr. Thomas Russel from the National Cybersecurity Center, along with his intern. Is it Alexia Thompson?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here representing the next generation, in whom the good Mr. Russel here has placed so much emphasis in his career. And you talked about, something obviously near and dear to my heart. Here you and I sit as two now leaders in the cybersecurity space, men of color, that have kind of sort of breached that space. And you have a heart to see that door opened even wider. Talk a little bit more about how you've seen progress there.
Okay, well, I was, people thought just because I'm black that I was going to be able to recruit, I was going to be able to recruit all of the black kids in the school.
Yeah.
That's not the case, and that's why I found out that when I engaged them early, that's when it happens. So what I've been seeing, many of the people who were engaged early, middle school, and a couple of them in actually elementary school, that's actually going to college now, UCCS, I was able to make it stick.
Sure.
And they were very interested, and they stuck with it. And the thing about it is, they're smart enough to do this.
Of course.
It's just that the opportunity is not there.
It has to be reinforced
Right.
around them.
It has to be reinforced not just once, but throughout their entire school career.
They are still kids, right?
Right. they are still kids,
Yeah.
and they will be interested if you engage them early.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the numbers, and it proves to be true that
Sure.
the numbers of people of color is improving. Now, for some reason, the females are a little bit easier to recruit.
Sure.
And the reason why I did my research, and I call it purposeful computing.
Yeah.
That means that where guys have intrinsic interest in sitting behind a computer, with girls, you have to kind of explain why they're doing it and what's going to be the result and how we're going to get there. And I found out that when I did that I was able to get more females instead of having some abstract ideas that do you want to work with computers.
Yeah.
I have to tell them, like, what kind of problem you can solve, what kind of
Right.
problems you can solve by working with computers, whether it's coding or networking or anything else. And I always wrap it into some kind of community endeavor. How are we going to improve our community with your work in computers? And I found out that was a great way to recruit females. And with other people of color, and when I say people of color, I'm not just talking about African Americans. I'm talking about any person of color, whether they Mexican or Mideast, it makes no difference. I would have to introduce it to them early.
Sure.
In Silicon Valley, they don't recruit from some of the traditional black colleges.
Sure.
They have programs now that's trying to get those students, and the reason why, it's not some conscious effort to exclude those students. It's just that you have somebody at Howard University, for example, has an excellent cyber program, right? But the problem is, some of those kids that's majoring in some kind of STEM or computer science at Howard, that's their first year doing it.
Yeah.
They weren't introduced to it in
Never
high
touched
school,
it before.
right? And when you compare them to their counterparts, those counterparts, they already had 8 years of working. So the companies go into the people with the most experience.
Sure.
So by introducing it to introducing cybersecurity at a very young age, it's going to help those numbers go up. So when that number one student goes to a place like Howard, he or she is already going to have 3 or 4 or 5 years behind them like the other kids, instead of just catching up right at that moment.
And they're comfortable in that ecosystem, understanding the, and so they can build a repertoire or a resume of work, even as young people.
Exactly.
Like the Capture the Flag games, the kids are doing these games, and they're literally working on cybersecurity problems already, and I know they're fully capable. I mean, District 49 has proven that young people are ready. District 20 is doing some great things. District 11, Bill Tomeo, and so many people here in the Springs.
I'm always pleasantly surprised, especially when a student thinks that they're not interested in it until they try it. I always compare it with chess. Everybody doesn't like chess because it's boring until they actually play chess.
Play it, yes.
When they play it, then they see how much fun it is. And that's how cybersecurity is, because kids like it. It's like a puzzle to be done. It's a challenge. They are challenging themselves. They're challenging other students. It is a lot of fun. It's not always easy, but it's not the hardest thing to do.
No.
It's just like with anything else. If you're going to be successful, you have to stick with something. You have to have resilience. And that's also what I try to build into the students in the classroom.
Well, and there's stigmas and paradigms to help erase out there too. Like for me, trying to inspire my middle school daughter to be interested in technology. Her key, her knee-jerk response is, "Ew, Daddy, a bunch of gross boys." And I'm like,
Yeah.
Do you know some of the ladies that I've interviewed that have come in, even to the podcast, that are just, national, global leaders in cybersecurity? And I think we have to reinforce the removal of those stigmas, because we do, like you said, ladies have their own God-given gifts in community and connecting, and those are essential components to our industry that also need to be opened up. So yeah, even in that space, for sure.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the tangible pieces of what you're up to now that are making some of these things happen, not only in sort of the underserved populations, but also just in general for kids K-12?
Okay, well, a lot of good things are going on. And some of the tangible benefits that I can talk about now is I introduced several schools to cybersecurity that didn't have cybersecurity courses before. I do that through a third-party curriculum through a company called Test Out. Test Out has great curriculum that leads to certification. And through grants and funds, we are able to provide that free to the high schools and middle schools in our area, and about 4 schools that are outside of the state of Colorado.
Sure.
And the teachers love it because some of these teachers are a little bit reluctant to teach cybersecurity because that's not their background.
Yeah.
However, with this curriculum that we provide, first of all, we train the teachers right there at the National Cybersecurity Center, and I provide support throughout the year. If they give me a call, I'll just go down and help them out with their class. I have a couple of schools that we're going to visit. Alexia and I are going to visit next week. And so we just don't give them the curriculum. We tell them how to teach the curriculum. they can also, while they're learning, they can also get their own certification
themselves.
right?
Yeah,
They can
well,
get their
he
own
who teaches
certification.
learns, right?
Exactly,
the phrase.
and that's the best. That's the best way to learn
Sure.
is to teach.
Sure.
And so the teachers won't have that anxiety about teaching something that's outside their comfort zone.
Right.
And that's what I want, because it's hard for the schools to hire a cyber professional because
At the pay that teachers
right,
get.
right. So
Yeah.
with this way, with what we're doing at the NCC, we providing the means for them to get trained. We're providing the curriculum,
Sure.
and the students. It's like, build it, they come. They have a bunch of students that want to do this, and so far from what I'm seeing, they are doing very well.
Excellent.
I use Alexia as a guinea pig because she was one of the first people who I had go through the course, and she's doing great, and she'll be getting her certification soon
can
in
speak
IT
cyber.
fundamentals. Absolutely, and I always ask her. I said, well, remember what you knew when you walked in here, and remember what you know now, and look at the difference. You
Sure.
know, it's this abstract idea of what cybersecurity is
Sure.
to something solid and fundamental.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing the numbers of kids taking cybersecurity courses going up,
Sure.
and I'm seeing the number of teachers willing to teach it. I'm seeing that number go up. So we've seen a lot of tangible benefits, and this has only been a few months. We haven't been doing this very long at all.
Sure.
So
Exciting.
everything is going along really well.
Let's continue this in just a moment after we take a listen to one of our sponsors.
Murray Security Services are your cybersecurity experts with decades of experience providing professional training services for our clients in various industries. We offer professional training and certification in areas of cybersecurity, safety, health, and environmental services at our academy. Our in-person and online training provides a collaborative environment where students can interact directly with instructors through live chats or in private classrooms. Visit murraysecurityservices.com for more information.
And we're back at Secure Set Studios here in Colorado Springs. My name is Abe Thompson here on the new Cyber Frontier. We have Mr. Thomas Russel from the National Cybersecurity Center and his illustrious intern, Alexia Thompson. You talk about how you have really placed a tool into the hands of teachers to facilitate this resurgence, or really this emergence of cybersecurity interest and knowledge.
Yes.
And you've got to see that play out in real life with this young lady here. So tell me a little bit about how that's worked out for you.
So I'm actually majoring in pre-med, but I came to work with the NCC, and I'm doing the test out program, and since I've started doing it, I'm able to set up laptops now and software and all types of stuff. And I think really, like he said, starting kids off early is what's important.
Sure.
Because it's 2020 practically, and we're only going to get more technologically advanced.
Sure.
Everything is computers.
Yeah.
And I've realized that because, most females and people of color think that, computers, like you said, but there's so much to computers.
Sure.
And I think teachers need to make kids more aware of all the opportunities that are out there, and the NCC is a perfect place to start.
Sure.
Because we are a nonprofit and we offer a lot of good certification.
Thomas, we need to be careful though, because she's going to get it, into a
know.
cybersecurity job before she makes it to medical school.
I know. What's good about this is that, as you see, she's majoring in something outside of cybersecurity.
yeah.
But it's my idea that we need a cyber literate society.
Here. Across the board.
We all have culture. We all have a certain culture, like American culture, and that culture is what keeps us together. All of the things that we need to know about being American,
Yeah.
but we are so entrenched in technology now,
Yeah.
and that's because like it used to be a time where if you wasn't into computers, you wouldn't take a computer class. But now, no matter what job you have, you are
Intro
using
to
computers.
computers,
I go to
yep.
get my oil change, and they're using a relational database. You know,
I'm a podcasting guy, and I'm using the computer. Right?
yeah, and so by her doing this, she's part of that community that is going to be cyber literate. You know, and that's what we need. We need cyber literacy for our own protection, for our personal protection, and to get jobs. So it's not just for having a cyber literate society. Doesn't mean like everyone's a cybersecurity professional. It means that they know the dangers of cyber data breaches and that sort of thing, and they know how to protect themselves. They know how to harden their position against those other intrusions.
Right, right. Well, and it needs to be pervasive. We've talked a lot about not having cybersecurity just be relegated to being a department.
Right.
It's a mindset.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
So let's kind of look into a day in the life. What happens in the classroom when during this test out cyber class? What's a class period look like?
Okay. I have I have an adult class, but I'll talk about that later.
Sure.
But in the classroom, we start out with IT fundamentals. As you know, certification in IT fundamentals is not going to be enough to get your foot in the door. However, I want everyone, and I tell all the teachers this, I don't care how much experience a teacher has or a student has, everyone is going to get an IT fundamentals certification because I want to ensure that they got the base instead of starting with security plus or network plus. No, I want to make sure you know the basics of computers before we do that.
Yeah.
Now, if you breeze through it, fine. If you pass everything, fine. But you will take that. And so in the classroom, we go through the IT fundamentals first. It's enough for a teacher to use an entire semester, like from January all the way to May. So it's more than enough. And then I am absolutely convinced, and I'm sure that they are ready to take on everything else. And so everyone starts out with the basics, and they move up. Right now, I do have an adult class, and 8 people. All of them just last week. Just Monday. I had the rest of them take the test, and all of them got certified in IT fundamentals. And right now, they're working on A+, after that, Secure Plus, and then Network Plus. So it's the exact same for the adults. It's the exact same in the classroom. The same thing those adults using, believe it or not, is the exact same curriculum that middle schoolers are using.
Sure.
It's my idea from my own personal experience that middle schoolers can actually get a certification. They can be certified in that IT fundamental. You know, it'll take a lot of time for the other ones, but they can at least do that. So if I can have a large portion of middle school kids getting this certification, I know by the time they get to high school, it's going to be smoother sailing because they already have been exposed to it in such a pronounced way.
And then they're free to do more, hands-on internships and whatnot because they've already got that foundational industry certification out of the way. It's it's an industry stamp. Now, as you said, it's not enough necessarily to get that job, but it is a stepping stone and a key component.
Right, and I explain that to everybody. I'm not gonna promise you the world if you get this particular certification.
Right.
But the one thing I can tell you, if you get this certification and the other 3 that I offer, doors are going to open, and you're going to be in a better place at that time than you are right now, and that's 100%.
Good.
So it's not everything, but it's a really good start.
Sure.
It's a really good basis.
They try to do a really good job to offer real world experience. Like Thomas really tries to partner with people to offer that for people who really do follow through with the whole thing. So
what types of real world things have you seen even in the time that you've had a chance to interface with Mr. Russell and the program there at NCC?
He's been able to get internships for people. I don't know if I should say where or not, but just
you can talk about the types of organizations.
Well, you can say where I got. I have a relationship, for example, with Progressive Insurance Data Center. And I have a student in there now that one of my students that just got hired, and I got 2 more in the hopper that I'm going to put up there.
That's exciting.
And they actually write me emails talking about how great the students are, and I got other people that are doing shadowing at different places. So Progressive Insurance is a big place. Also, I have a really good relationship with Bocor, as you probably know.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they help out a lot too. I had a student there that I got in there to do an internship, and she, just like a lot of other students, or former students of mine, doing really well in college, taking computer science.
Sure.
I have a ton of free labor because so many of my students go to UCCS,
Yeah.
and so every time I do something, I give them a call.
You get your alumni
Right,
volunteers.
right, and they, you know,
Yeah.
they more than happy to help. So now that I can look back at a couple of years, I can see the progress that these students are making.
Sure.
I have another student. I'm going to say his name. His name is Steve Cruz. He's actually working on his doctorate in cybersecurity
At UCCS.
at UCCS,
Excellent.
and he's one of the guys who I kind of corralled in high school. Didn't know anything about cybersecurity. I didn't even know if he was interested.
Wow.
And
That's
he's doing terrific, you know.
Excellent.
So you know, I said, well, you could probably teach me. You're working on your doctorate, and I'm pretty sure you know things I don't know. But these are the things that when the students come back, that's my biggest thing when they come back to help, and they always do.
Sure.
I still coach CyberPatriot for Falcon, and I still
Excellent.
have my former students, when they can, they come and help me, you know. So it's kind of like building a cyber
Sure.
community.
Oh, yeah. And
and
we're
it's great.
We are an industry and a community. Even Colorado Springs, our ecosystem is just very interdependent. We just had this weekend the Civil Air Patrol CyberPatriot team. They used
Yeah.
our spaces for their practice, and they had their competition here Saturday, so they were here all day.
Yeah.
And I just love seeing that. I love that they're kind of exposed to some of our students being around and the professionals that are building, and then
Yeah.
our professionals, you know, see the students and are inspired by the youth and, you know, their involvement and whatnot. So that's encouraging.
Well, just like when you helped us out with the Capture the Flag
Yeah.
in July,
Yeah.
the synergy between those professionals and the students were great. It was like 100 times better than I even thought it would be. They really, the professionals really like to help the students, you know, and the students learned a lot from them. So that's always a good thing, you know.
So, as you have seen some success here in the local districts, and then you said in a couple other states outside, what is sort of the national vision you have about allowing this ripple to become a nationwide thing?
Okay, well, we were just granted about a month ago for CyberPatriot Center of Excellence. We're the
good.
first and only Center of Excellence for CyberPatriot in the state of Colorado. I think it's only like 20 across the country. And with that momentum, being selected as Center of Excellence, we were selected as a Center of Excellence because our engagement. Alexia and I, you know, talked to some Girl Scouts to get their badges just a few weeks ago.
Oh, the cyber.
I just had 2 lectures with senior citizens, and I'm always going to the school. So with all of that, we were granted a Center of Excellence. So I'm taking that momentum, and I'll probably visit D.C. in the next couple of months.
Good.
And I'm going to have some kind of partnership where the people who are members of the CyberPatriot organization will also be our members,
Good.
and they
Yeah,
will
that
be
makes
able
sense.
they will be able to get free
Sure.
free training, and that's going to make the membership grow exponentially. And the reason why we stand out more than the other CTSOs, career technical student organizations, is none of those organizations provide training at all, and I don't think they even interested in it. We are only concentrating on cybersecurity, and we provide training. So no one else in the country does that right now. So I think we in a unique position to grow, and I hope maybe in a year from now you call us back in here and I can tell you the thousands of people that we have that join the Student Alliance.
Indeed, I love the sound of that. So, any other major initiatives that are going on that you just want to put attention on?
Yes, we are working right now to do Capture the Flags. Right now, we partner with local companies to help us out with it, but we want to make that a little bit independent. So
Sure.
we're gonna have our own wireless platform to use, and it's only going to be right now. When I do it with people like Bocor, there's professionals and the students, but I want to have something just for the students, and I want people to come here to Colorado Springs, so our facilities from all across the country, and they will compete in our own,
Excellent.
and NCC's own Capture the Flag. So that's a big thing. So I'm using Capture the Flag on the 14th of February as a little impetus to do that. And also, we're going to have another one in the summertime. And after we get the equipment and set things up, we're going to do that. The second thing is, and I think this is big, we will probably have our own curriculum, formulate our own curriculum without going through third parties.
For sure.
And I think that's the only way and the best way to go when we look into the future, to be totally independent.
Sure.
And instead of me going out and partnering with people will come to me and partner with me because they're going to see the great things that
As
we're
the
doing.
national center.
Absolutely,
right.
yes.
And so if people want to get more information, what's your website there at NCC?
CyberCTSO.
CyberCTSO
Yes. .org.
.org. So cyberctso.org. And again, for those of you that may be able to take advantage of this, 14 February upcoming CTF at NCC.
Yes, and that's
Sounds like a great date opportunity on Belfast.
yeah, a lot of these nerds don't have dates anyway, but
We come hang out with each other.
yeah. So it's going to be on the 14th. It's going to be much like it was last July. We're going to have professionals working alongside students. It's going to be great. We're going to have food. People like food.
Oh,
so,
you said food.
Yeah.
All right. Note to
So this
self.
is going to be good.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've had the privilege of having from the National Cybersecurity Center, Mr. Thomas Russel, who is the Education Program Manager there, and his illustrious intern, Alexia Thompson. My name is Abe Thompson here on the New Cyber Frontier at the SecureSat Studios. Thomas, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting us here.
It's been a delight, and we hope to, like you said, to have you come back and give us an update. This is Abe Thompson at SecureSat Studios on the New Cyber Frontier, signing out. Good day.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of New Cyber Frontier. Remember, please follow and participate as New Cyber Frontier is supporting a grassroots community effort to empower the individual in the digital age. Check it out at privacyforthepeople.org. Also, make sure to join our mailing list so we can keep you informed. If you have an idea, if you have a question you would like to hear answered, or if you just want to get involved in what we're doing, reach out to us at newcyberfrontier.com. We also encourage you to visit our sponsors links because they are the ones that really make this show possible. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of New Cyber Frontier.